After a tragic release when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 a couple of short weeks ago, we have seen a vast improvement in simmers just getting access to the sim, but there's still a lot of work and development that needs to be done to bring this up to a AAA title. This week we have the first development live stream since the release of 2024, and many simmers are very eager to find out what Microsoft's next steps are in addressing the sim's key problems and issues. We have got you with all the highlights of the development live stream, so let's jump into the video. Jorg, the CEO of Flight Sim, kicked off the development live stream and admitted it was an awful launch experience for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and provided a quick explanation on how the tragic launch happened. Jorg mentioned that it was no issue with the sim's client or the servers, and the problem actually stemmed from in between the server and the client, which was the CDN, which is the same CDN they used with 2020, and it simply couldn't handle the number of requests at launch. The team tried to increase the capacity and also place queues, which didn't work, and then the team decided to move the infrastructure, which took them a couple of days. Once that was done, then they started to see the numbers the way they wanted to. The team reviewed some graphs and numbers on what happened during the first couple of days, and it showed them off and how they implemented changes to improve the access and the experience for simmers. And looking forward, the team is now looking at the cadence when it comes to a bug fixing for the sim. We've already seen a couple of small patches for Microsoft Flight Simulator, one being on November the 23rd and the other on the 2nd of December. The first couple of patches were targeted at stability issues, and patch 3, which is expected to be released either the 10th or the 12th of December next week. Patch 3 is expected to be substantial, as the team has many people working on this one, and unfortunately Jorg did not go into much detail about what this patch would include, but did mention that it was going to be substantial over the previous other two we have seen. When it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, the team also mentioned that aircraft careers and the world can now be updated on the server side of things with packages, and the team mentioned we will see updates and fixes to these things on the fly, which don't require a sim update, which is one of the attributes of having the sim set up the way that it is now. A big thank you to Pimax for supporting this video. I've been using VR headsets with my flight simulations for years. Some have been great, some have been okay, and some have been terrible. Recently I've been using the Pimax Crystal Light, enjoying the stunning clarity and profound immersion it provides. Flight Sim looks incredibly realistic with the Pimax Crystal, and being a real world pilot, it's the closest thing you can get to the real world flying from home in my experience. A big thank you to Pimax for supporting this video. I'll leave a link in the description below if you'd like to check out Pimax and their Pimax Crystal Light. When it comes to sim updates, the team is planning on only one per quarter. This is to focus on the flighting of the sim updates to increase stability once they are released, and the first sim update will be in Q1 of 2025 and the second will obviously be in Q2 of 2025. There is no word from the Microsoft team or the server team what these sim updates will include at this stage. That's pretty much summed up what the team has planned for when it comes to 2024, which is pretty vague. It comes to the cadence of the bug fixing and improving the sim's core. That being said, the sim has just been released, and I'm sure they're still looking at all the data across what's been happening to be able to decide what's going to be the best bang for buck when it comes to the core sim itself. And that was the main focus at the start of the development live stream. Moving on to the Q&A part of the development live stream that had questions from the community. Here some of the highlights. One of the questions that was asked: why move to the cloud and rely on streaming data? Seb, one of the co-founders of Asobo, explained that the sim is just too big for a full download option. If you downloaded the standard edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 without any of the satellite or the world data, it would be a 1.3 terabyte download. Yes, I said 1.3 terabyte download. Seb mentioned if you had a gigabyte download internet speed, it would take about 25 hours just to download the packages. Seb also noted when it comes to the cloud way of doing things that the average simmer downloads about 5.6 gigabytes per hour. The team is also looking at implementing options for simmers to download content to the PCs, such as aircraft and airports, things that they would use often, and that way they don't need to stream them each time they launch the sim. This feature would work in a very similar way to how it does currently with the 2020 sim. In addition to that, the mid-December patch should include options to disable certain packages in the library section. Jorg had also confirmed on the Q&A section of the develop live stream that we won't see a in-sim marketplace this year. Microsoft will be holding off at reopening the marketplace until sometime in early 2025. The reason for this is to give third-party developers time to get their products tested for the in-sim marketplace. There is no exact time given other than early 2025. The Microsoft team then moved the development live stream into reintroducing the feedback snapshot and the bug list fixes. If there's a bug that you want addressed or in a feature that you really want to show up on the radar when it comes to the key people of Microsoft Flight Simulator, I would highly recommend you going over to the forums and upvoting those features and those bugs, as this is where the Asobo and the Microsoft team look at what needs to be addressed first. Taking a closer look when it comes to bug fixes, starting off with patch number 3, which we'll see this in mid-December. Some of the highlights, we are going to see improvements to the bright lighting, which things are basically over brightness in the sim. This has partially been fixed and we'll see some improvements in patch number 3. The Cessna 172 classic electrical systems is not functioning. This has been fixed and addressed for patch 3. Wind turbulence in career mode is being over excessive. This has been fixed and will be included in patch number 3. Cannot unselect stream packages in my library, which we spoke about just a little while before. This will be fixed and added in patch number 3. And the PC24 that is completely broken, which is going to be fixed and addressed in patch number 3. The other options that are on the bug list that are still in progress and currently being worked on is the toolbar missing when it comes to VR, and mouse click spots stop working in VR. Currently under investigation when looking at the bug list is live weather is not separate from the date that is selected, which is currently under investigation. Mouse free look access crosstalk over sensitive, flap speed is slow in multiple aircraft, the control access is not responding, excessive amount of trees, helicopters jump in and out of the ground effects when near a raised platform. I honestly thought, in my opinion, that's probably how it should be, but I could be wrong. And can't start a flight, just get a loading circle over and over. These are some of the bugs that are currently under investigation, and I guess it's very early stages, and hopefully over the next development live stream we'll see some more updates when it comes to them. Moving over to the new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 wishlist, unencrypting default aircraft is something that is in progress, but at this stage there is no announced solution, but they are working at it. Make cloud streaming optional. Asobo is coming up with a few different options to include aircraft and airport downloads, but they did confirm there will be no option to download the world data, as it is way too large, and from the looks of it we may be able to see some of those options taking place for patch number 3. Provide a readable airport data for little nav map, which is in progress. Starting a flight without the walk around is in progress, which is great news in my opinion. Adding more aeroplane variety to the career mode, which is also in progress. There's also a bunch of requests that have been slated as under investigation, but the team didn't really take too much time to speak about them. I bet you they're just starting to look at them at this stage, and nothing's really on their radar at the moment. They've obviously been focusing on just getting the sim accessible for simmers. As we mentioned before, if you would like to improve your chances of getting a bug or a feature being further up the list, remember to drop into the forums and cast your vote. speaking of radars, if we've happened to fall under your radar and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and smash that subscribe button, as it's the nice thing to do and it causes all nice flight sim warms and fuzzies all around. And of course, we will pay you back by keeping you updated with all the flight sim news each and every week. The working title team were one of the dev guests when it comes to this development live stream. The team went over a bunch of flight plan features that are already been released in the sim, and they just went into detail of some of the work and some of the improvements they have done. One of the things that was worth mentioning is they talked about the website from Microsoft Flight Simulator where you can actually go over and plan your flights and actually share your flights. I'll leave a link for that one in the description below. That being said, however, the team did discuss some future enhancements that it is worth mentioning, and one is aircraft position sync for the web planner, introducing world routes, and more weather, and introduction of more weather layers. At the moment, the team is testing a new performance CFG platform, which we hope to see implemented soon, because performance improvements with any sim is very much welcome. What's next for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 besides bug fixes, improvements, and sim updates? Jorg, the CEO of Flight Sim, went through some of the 2025 roadmap. Originally, the team planned to have the first world update number 19 to be released around the 5th of December, which is at the date when I recorded this video. With the current state of the sim, world update number 19 won't be released until sometime between January and February 2025. World update number 19, which will be Brazil, will include 4 tin cities, 7 handcrafted airports, and 75 points of interest. The local legend aircraft, which will be the 20th edition of the series, which will be Cat 4, which any builds has been the developer and designer around this one. Jorg also showed the roadmap for 2025, which is at its very early days, and the team plans to release the following in 2025, which is 4 world updates, 3 city updates, 7 local legend aircraft, 4 famous flyers, 4 sim updates, and 2 surprises, which they didn't mention what they would be. The team again apologized for the launch of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2025 and announced they will deliver the next 4 aircraft that they were planning on releasing in 2025, and it will be at no cost to simmers. This is a way of saying thank you very much for being patient, and we apologize for the disaster launch of the 2024 sim. These are called a Make It Good aircraft series, and the first one is the famous flyer Cessna 185F, and the second one will be the Cat 4, which we mentioned before. The other 2 aircraft they didn't mention at this stage because they didn't know which order they will be coming out. So basically, the next 4 famous flyers and the combination of local legends, they will be available for free for the community. If you got this far in the video, thank you very much for the support, and as I mentioned before, if we've happened to fall underneath your radar, please hit that subscribe button. It is much appreciated, and we will be back with another Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 video sometime real soon.